Hello and welcome to Keep It Locked with me, Simon Hill. It's the first rebranded episode from the Gone Gold podcast, and I was so excited to announce that we've rebranded, redesigned, and it's all just brand spanking new. Don't forget you can find us on social media now. We have our very own Keep It Locked social media Twitter page, so head over to @KeepItLockedPod. Of course, I'm across social media as well, @SimonHOfficial. You can find all updates on new guests, exclusive content, and so much more. Don't forget to head over as well to Pins and Knuckles Wrestling, where you can get the latest Keep It Locked merchandise from there as well. Some new designs coming real soon. But let's get into this first episode. Super excited, and I couldn't think of a better guest to kick things off with. She has had one hell of a career, still a very young performer in the wrestling industry. So many stories at OTT with her woke queen, Debbie Keitel. Yes, it's Valkyrie. We talk everything about her OTT career, wrestling abroad, as well as that all-important contract with WWE, now at NXT UK. And she's absolutely slaying it there. We talk about all of her matches, wrestling some of her favourite wrestlers and who she would like to step in the ring with at NXT UK. It's all in this episode and so much more. It's Keep It Locked. Valkyrie, thanks so much for joining me.
No problem. Hey, glad to be on the first ever episode.
First of all, how are you finding life at the moment? It's a very, very weird situation. I know you're going to be missing a lot of wrestling, but, how have you been handling the downtime?
I think it was tough at the start, but I think I've kind of learned to adapt to it and just appreciate the good things out of it as well. So it's okay. Obviously, I wish everything could get back to normal as soon as possible, but I'm not coping too bad.
That's good. So how have you been feeling, Tom? I know that you're a gamer. You love watching films. And also watching, obviously, wrestling videos back. But what has been kind of the main forces for you to kind of, play on that downtime whilst you have it?
I'm just trying to be as productive as possible. I think that's kind of what keeps me sane, is thinking of when this is all over, what to get back to. So I'm watching a lot of wrestling. I'm training at home a lot. I've started yoga.
Oh, nice. Wow.
You never get time to do that, but just like watching movies as well. Reading a lot more than I usually do. Not really be doing a whole lot else,
I mean, with kind of the yoga thing, so it's something I've always wanted to try. I've never ever gotten into. I really love the gym. That's one of the biggest things I'm missing at the moment. Talk to me about how you got into yoga, first of all, because I've tried, but I just can't do it.
I'm not sure if I thought yoga, I don't know if I'm on the wrong course or something. It's very relaxing, but it kind of just feels like a really gentle stretch every week on the course that I'm on. I don't know. Apparently, like Pilates is meant to be like much more kind of about strength. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll keep going. Why not for the rest of quarantine? See if I notice any change. But yeah, it was just the physio I usually go to offered a free class just weekly. So
why not take it? You've got the time, right?
Yeah.
I want to get into the career of Valkyrie. You are only 23, but already you've had such a storied career. Only in the past year have we seen you win the OTT Women's Championship, make your debut in Germany, as well as getting WWE tryouts and landing a contract with WWE at NXT UK. What a crazy year that's been. But let's rewind it all the way back to Fight Factory, making your debut 2015.
I started training at Fight Factory, but it was actually for a promotion down in Cork that I debuted. And I tag teamed with LJ Cleary, who's like currently my boyfriend as well. So that was always reassuring, and like against Katie Harvey and Michael May. And all three of those have had such a big hand in like training me and doing everything for me since day one, and still to this day, like just couldn't ask for a better match to begin with. So yeah, and it's still on YouTube, my very first match, but it's good memories with that one. So
What was looking back to that match? Obviously, it's available on YouTube, so we can go and watch that. What are the differences from watching yourself back in 2015 to where you are now? Was it a big learning process? Do you look back and go, "Oh man, I would do so much different," in that match right now?
No, I would never change my debut match. Like I always feel like I'm on a journey, and sometimes you get scared, and I always think, oh my God, am I progressing enough? Because the fear is obviously to keep working at something and then not to be getting better. But then when you actually look at the steps, like sometimes it'll just be a Facebook memory or something that pops up, and you say, oh my God, I was only doing that a year ago, and now I'm here. And it's just like I wouldn't change anything about my journey so far, to be honest.
No,
Obviously
that's
I'm
good.
learning every day and progressing, but there's nothing I'd go back on.
You also went on to team with your best friend, one of your best friends, Debbie Keitel. And you ladies, do you know what? Just watching the promos of the Woke Queens is one of the most entertaining things you can do with your day. You ladies just bounced off each other so well. Everything from the banter to the dancing to absolutely everything. Was it just very natural for you ladies to just be that way with each other?
Um, Not at the start. See, me and Debbie are such opposite people. Like we could not be more different in every single way. And I think it actually is how different we are that ended up working so well. And it was the tag team that actually brought us so much closer as friends. Yeah, like take a bullet for Debbie. Like I think she's the same. Just the memories and stuff. It's very much kind of how we are naturally. And we brought that to the ring. And I would say that tagging with Debbie, it really felt, it was like, this is how it's supposed to feel when you're just, you're having so much fun in what you're doing. And I really feel like Debbie helped me so much to just kind of bring something else out of myself that I hadn't brought into the ring before.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, she just helped me a whole lot. Like the Woke Queens has all, like, a lot of my favorite memories that I've done in wrestling. And it's always so much fun.
And you kind of went through a huge journey at OTT with the Woke Queens as well as a singles competitor, which we'll get to in a moment. But was that a story that you and Debbie wanted to tell throughout? Those, I think it was 13 shows that you guys were on consecutively with OTT, where you brought out these promos, these really funny, energetic videos. Was that a lot of that like pre-planned? Was it scripted, or was it just you ladies being yourselves?
It was honestly just us being ourselves. So we'd get told like a general, like, oh, like we knew we needed some content, and Debbie was always amazing at like the ideas for content, look, character, all that stuff. Debbie is like on the ball with. So when it came to promos, we'd have like a general idea of what we had to get across, but then in actually doing it, it would just be like, oh, imagine we do this, or why don't you just say that? Like it would just, like, we just naturally bounce off each other. We'd never really script it. A lot of the times, the funny stuff in promos is just stuff that kind of comes. Yeah.
It made for some incredible content, and I spent a good few hours kind of watching pretty much as I could on everything that you ladies did, and it was so entertaining. It would be good. Obviously, you've recently signed up with NXT UK, which we'll get to in a while. But is the long-term goal to have you guys back together, but on TV? In the future.
I'm not sure. We kind of just take everything as it comes with the Woke Queens. Because we're a tag team in Eve, OTT. So like we don't really know where it's gonna go. It just kind of depends.
Yeah,
Obviously, we
yeah.
put as much as we can.
No, absolutely. And you would go on to capture the Eve Tag Team Championships as well, which would be one of the staples of your career so far, especially, and with your best friend. How was that feeling? Do you remember much about that match?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember we were going to do a tournament, and I think we had two matches that night, and one of them was was that the one with Jinny and Kanji? I think we had that one first, and then we progressed in the tournament to take on Mercedes. It was a really fun match. We didn't know till the day that we were going to win it. I don't know why it just didn't assume to us. We were kind of thinking in the car, and then we're like, they're not the other team that we were facing aren't actually a tag team really, and we were kind of wondering like, hang on, could we be winning this? And then it was just like, obviously a huge moment for us. And I remember specifically going back to the hotel room that night and like taking some funny pictures in the hotel with the titles, and it was just like nothing but good memories.
And you would also go on after that to win the OTT Women's Championship in 2019. What was that moment like for Valkyrie? Was that kind of the first step that you thought, right, I'm really starting to build head of steam here?
So everything kind of happened for me all over 6 weeks. Like it was just 6 weeks block where everything just exploded and this ball just started rolling and I had to just run. So going over to WXW to do 6 weeks of training and shows with them, I had that, and that was my first kind of big thing outside that I was focusing on. And then it was when I was over at WXW that so much happened. I got contacted for the WWE tryout. I got put into a match for the first time against Toni Storm at Fight Club, so that was a really big singles match for me. And I found out that I would be facing Raven Creed in Belfast for the OTT Women's Championship. So I actually flew home from Germany for the title and to get some stuff for the tryout, and to fly back, finish my time in Germany, flew back for the tryout. So it was a mental 6 weeks where just everything changed. So I always hold kind of WXW really close to my heart because it's just my favorite place.
And you've gone up against one of the most underrated wrestlers to come from, who's been with WXW quite a lot, Killer Kelly, who you've forged a friendship with. And you've had some incredible matches together, which one of them was at WXW, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of triple threat matches at WXW. We've only had one singles match, I think, and I'd love to get another. I'd love to wrestle Kelly again in a singles, but our friendship actually began when we both got booked to wrestle in GWF, another promotion in Berlin, and that was when I met her for the first time, and she just wasn't what I was expecting at all. Like she's just an animated person. Like she burst into the room, she's like, "Hello!" And she's very funny. So we got on really well. We just kind of naturally, I feel, had chemistry in the ring together. So we got on well. And then the next time, it was like months apart, but we kind of just loosely kept in touch. And then we got booked to wrestle in PWU up in Northern Ireland. So I met her again there. And then her flight was back from Dublin. So we like had to travel down to Dublin, and then she had like a few hours to kill in Dublin. So we ended up hanging out together. And I was just like, okay, I know all the good food places, so I'll bring you around. We went to a burger place and we just like hit it off. We spent hours talking there, and then it was like we were just like that ever since. And I always remember, even like when it came to paying the bill, like I didn't know her, Kelly, that well, but at the time she was with NXT UK, and I like it didn't even feel close to me. And Kelly actually paid the bill for no reason and just said, yeah, like someone did this before for me, and I'm on WWE right now, and you can pay me back when you are too, because I know you will be. And that was just,
Wow.
We've just been like sisters ever since.
That's such an amazing story. And I'll tell you what you're doing really well for me here, Eva, is my notes are all labelled out, and you're telling the notes without me asking questions. So this is fantastic. So I want to kind of rewind back to that moment. So you had that huge experience with Kelly, and then you've had several matches which have all been explosive matches. They've all been highly spoke about. I've seen them across social media during my research and things like that. But you also mentioned that match with Toni Storm at Fight Club Pro.
Yeah.
I love the guys at Fight Club Pro. I know many of them there. They're great guys. What was your memory of Fight Club Pro when you first got your debut there, and when you wrestled Toni Storm?
I think the first time I wrestled for Fight Club was actually in a scramble match against I know Scotty Davis, Chuck Mambo, and a few others. And I just always like Fight Club. I've gone over to train. I've trained a lot around the UK, and I always go back to Fight Club training because it's very intense, and I always just really like the training there. And I always wanted to get on the shows, and I love the venue. I love everything about it. So when I got wind of the match against Toni, it was like, wow. Because I'd really wanted to wrestle Toni for a long time. So yeah, it was just huge for me.
And what was that? What was that discussion? You know, especially when you're going into the match, you're getting prepared, you're getting ready. What are your feelings before you go out and you wrestle someone like Toni Storm? Obviously, you're already kind of building bridges. You're already kind of getting successful, but then you're stepping in the ring with the likes of Toni Storm or Kaylee Ray, etc. What's going through your mind before you go through the curtain?
I was, to be honest, very, very nervous for that match. I'd love to get another singles with Toni because I know it actually would be a totally different match if I was to do it now. To be honest, I do feel like I was very nervous and almost not ready maybe for that one. I'm not sure, but it was a very big opportunity for me anyway.
So you wrestled some of the best already. You've been in the ring with the likes of Toni Storm, Kaylee Ray, as well as Candice LeRae, etc., etc. But obviously now being on NXT UK and with the WWE, you've just said there you'd like another match with Toni. Would you like to jump in the ring with some of these other girls as well at WWE on a bigger stage? It's a bigger platform for you to showcase now. And obviously you say they'll be very different experiences this time around.
Yeah, there's like I would love to wrestle so many of them. I've only actually wrestled Kaylee Ray in a tag match at ICW. We've never had a singles match. So I would love to have one of those. Dani Luna, I've wrestled at Attack. I'd love to wrestle her. Honestly, all the NXT UK girls are so great, and I feel like I've wrestled an awful lot of people multiple times, and then some people it's like, how have I not wrestled you? So much more. Yeah, I've so much left to do with all the NXT UK girls, to be honest.
I don't know if you know this stat. I'm going to throw it at you before we get into the WWE side of things. But you have been in the ring with Katie Harvey over 60 times in your career already.
Really?
Yeah.
I did. Go back to what I was saying about wrestling the same people a lot. No, yeah, fully
it's
believe it.
quite a lot of times.
A lot of times. Yeah, I love wrestling Katie. Honestly, she's given me two of the matches that have meant the most to me, being the first Defiant match at OTT, which kind of, I feel, it was my OTT debut really, and I feel it earned me my spot in there. And the stadium match where we wrestled for the title at her comeback match after breaking her elbows. So yeah, I've wrestled Katie a lot.
It's incredible to hear that story and that because obviously you went through training with Katie as well, in some aspects, didn't you? And then obviously she's kind of followed you with your career as well, and being in a ring with someone over 60 times obviously shows the trust and level of respect that you have for each other.
Yeah, Katie is in every way like a mentor to me, and she's taught me so much kind of inside and outside the ring. Like I'm just such a big, like, we're best friends. Like there's so much to know.
I want to hear a story now. So I'd already had this in my notes, but I was prompted by LJ Cleary, your boyfriend, to get you to tell this funny story, an interesting story about you winning the Junior Heavyweight Championship, the Irish Junior Heavyweight Championship. And before you do tell the story, I didn't know if you already knew this. You're the second longest reigning Irish Junior Heavyweight Champion. Second to your boyfriend, LJ Cleary.
Second place. Funny story. Did he call it a funny story? I don't know if it definitely wasn't a funny story at the time. Well, it kind of was. I don't know. Basically, I had been put into Grapple Games, which was Fight Factory's biggest ever show at the time, and it was for the Irish Junior Heavyweight Championship. and it is a very prestigious belt. Like it's my own school. It's been held by Jordan, LJ, Be Cool, Sammy D, like a lot of the best people that Ireland has produced. So they didn't tell me that I was going to be in the match. First of all, this is how it started. The show beforehand, they asked me. I had just wrestled Debbie, and they asked Phil, the head trainer and promoter, asked me to help out with the raffle at the break. So I was like, sure, yeah, I'll do the raffle. And so I get into the ring, and Rick Nash, the presenter, is on the microphone, and I'm just standing there with a bag of raffle tickets, and I had literally just wrestled, so my brain does this thing where it just kind of switches off. I was thinking about the match, not really listening, just thinking he was talking about the raffle. And he says, "I'm Valkyrie is going to be the 6th member in the Grapple Games," and I hear the crowd erupt, and I'm standing there with a bag, and everyone's looking at me, and I had tuned out and I didn't hear, and I just was like, "Hey!" You see me just holding up a bag, like not really knowing what had happened, and I was like, "Yeah," and I thought they had like promoted me into the tag match that was happening afterwards or something, and I was like, "What is going on?" So then I had to go to the back, and I was like, "Guys, what just happened?" I kind of tuned out, and they were like, "You're in Grapple Games." Katie was standing there like, "You're in Grapple Games. Were you not? What?" So I was like, "What?" So yeah, this was another huge opportunity to me. Obviously, Jordan Devlin being the reigning title defender, and again in there with Sammy D and Lee and all the best people. And it comes to the day of the show, and Jordan is booked to retain the title. So we had it planned, and it was going to come down to me and Jordan in the end. And we had it like I was going to hit Jordan a big move. He'd kick out. I'd go for a moonsault off the top, and he moves and hits into his package pile driver. It was a finish. So what they didn't tell me was that Jordan had this idea of not telling me that I was actually going to win the title that night. And yeah, they just never told me. They were like, "It'd be really funny. It'd be great." Yeah. So we go out there, and the crowd, like, the match is going great, and the crowd is really into it. It feels like there's going to be this massive eruption for the finish. You can feel the crowd coming up, and then it's me and Jordan. It all goes to plan. I hit Jordan the big move, and I'm pinning him, and I go 1, 2, and Jordan, I was so confused. It all happened at once. Like, Jordan just wasn't kicking out, and for some reason the ref just went 1, 2, ring the bell. So the bell goes, and I don't know what's going on. I think I've just accidentally beaten Jordan Devlin for the title. Accidentally. I thought it was my fault. So I'm just standing there, and someone hands me the title, and the crowd is like a little bit confused because of the finish, and I'm just freaking out looking for Phil, the head trainer, in the crowd to be flipping tables somewhere. Like, I was like, what is happening? I thought like, I was like, oh my God, what have I done? But yeah, then like someone came up to me and they were like, Aoife, this was meant to happen. We didn't tell you. You won.
Oh, no way. This is incredible.
It was insane, like crazy moment. And yeah, and then like that's the one thing, like Katie had to keep that a secret from me, and it's the one secret she's ever kept from me.
And what was that moment like when eventually the realization set in that this had all been, planned out without your knowledge, and then finally you realize that you are the champion, it was meant to be? How was that feeling?
Oh, it was insane. It was like such a, because there was the PWU women's title in Ireland, and there is now the Phoenix Empress Championship of the OTT women's title, but they weren't around at the time. Well, no, they were there. Sorry, my brain sometimes frazzles. But from going to like no women's belts in Ireland, and I for ages wanted to win the PWU women's one. It didn't even occur to me as a possibility that I could win the Irish Junior Heavyweight Championship, because obviously no girl had. It was the main title that it just didn't enter my mind. I didn't think, oh, I can't do that, but it it was never a thing. So then when I suddenly had this, I was like, what a landmark. Like, this is amazing.
Wow, what an
Yeah.
accomplishment! What an accomplishment! And then to hold that title for so long, I think it was something like 427 days or something like that. And yeah, LJ's only beat you by about 21 days. So I don't know if I told him that, but yeah, I'll let you have that one on the phone call later. Let's get into the start of 2020 for you. So already accomplished so much in the last year. Your debut in Germany, winning the OTT Women's Champion in 2019, as we spoke about as well, and then getting your WWE tryouts. That call. Tell me first of all, what were the tryouts like for you? That 4 or 5 days of however long of intense workouts, and this knowledge and wealth of knowledge that you're getting. What was it like for you stepping there at the performance center?
It was everything that I'd imagined it would be, to say the very least. But to have been like, I was a part of the first ever women's tryout for NXT UK. So there was like 17 of the girls, and a lot of them I had know from wrestling on the independent scene. And then just like, you kind of, I suppose it kind of builds up in your mind, and you're thinking like, is this going to be really intense? Is it going to kill me? Is it going to, like, you don't really know what to expect. But the level, like, what I actually didn't expect was the atmosphere at the tryout. It was just, everyone was so supportive of each other. There was no like animosity at all. Everyone pushed each other. And that was what I really loved about it the most, was how supportive everyone was, and how much fun actually the 3 days were for everyone. I feel like everyone really enjoyed the time, and like, obviously to learn from the absolute best, it was just an honor to be there. Yeah.
And after that, did you kind of just go back to normality? You wouldn't have known straight away whether you're going to get a call up or anything. Was it just right back to the next show? That was amazing. What an experience. How was the process afterwards?
I had to go back to Germany straight from there for like, I think another 2 or 3 days, and then I was flying home. So it was a while before I had to even I got to even come down from the 6 weeks, because just so much had happened. Yeah, like a funny story would be that my parents, obviously, well, not obviously, I had never been away from home for 6 weeks. I'd done like a week, 2 weeks, whatever, but I'd never gone away from home for 6 weeks. To go live in an apartment in Germany with a load of people I'd never met. So it was a big deal. And my parents, like, my dad was kind of like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, obviously I wanted to. There was nothing going to stop me. But my dad was like, look, Aoife, if you get homesick or whatever, just, I'll give you a flight ticket home just to spend a few days at home, and then to go back if you want. If you miss us, if you're not enjoying it, you can come home and then go back if you want. So I was like, okay. I wouldn't need that. So when I got contacted for the tryout, and I'll always remember the time, because I was sitting down watching Drill Bit Taylor, great movie.
Oh, nice.
And I opened my emails, and I was like, did I just hallucinate? But yeah, so I decided that I was gonna not tell my parents. I rang my dad, and I was just like, I'm feeling really homesick. Can I come home for a day? Because I needed to go home and like get a new suitcase and everything. So I was like, can I come home for a day? I'm feeling really homesick. I miss you guys. So I flew home. And I was like, I'd really like if we can all go out for a family dinner before I go back to Germany as well. So we all went out for a family dinner. I went up to the bartender, and I was like, can you send like 5 glasses of Prosecco down to this table? And,
nice.
yeah, I told my family at dinner, I was like, hey, I'm not really homesick. I just wanted to tell you guys in person, I've been contacted for a WWE tryout. So
Wow.
it was a nice trip home. Yeah.
What a moment. And what was the reaction of your parents when the second that left your mouth?
Just kind of amazement, but also they're not like, I don't come from a wrestling family, so they're not really gonna understand on another level as well, kind of. So it wasn't as, they actually didn't react as amazingly as I'd hoped, because obviously it means more to me than it would to anyone. But yeah, it was a good trip home because I just had asked if I could fly home a couple of days early because I flew home a day early to meet them and then to go up to Belfast to win the title at OTT and then back home to pack and then back to Germany. So between that was a very special weekend home.
I can only imagine just that whole feeling of having, that news of you being invited to WWE tryouts and then winning the championship, then back to Germany. Like, it's everybody's dream, isn't it, to go through something like that?
Yeah, it like the best 6 weeks of my life for sure.
Your first appearance on NXT was January the 17th, I believe, against Amal. And that was your first TV appearance for WWE. You went on to defeat her. Like, what was that? What was that feeling for you though? Backstage, you're here at WWE. They've been running promos and vignettes for 2 or 3 weeks prior, where you'd film this really cool thing of, you being on a battleground, and then, all of a sudden, Rise to the Valkyries here.
I was really happy to be on with Amel because I had wrestled her a lot of times in WXW, and I know Amel quite well. So yeah, like I can't explain it really. It's just a lot of fear, but also like I'm ready. So yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of those because I remember watching your debut episode, and straight away I think I turned to a friend who I was watching it with at the time, and I was like, "That's the future of women's wrestling right there." And I remember seeing Twitter blow up. I mean, for somebody that works in the industry, you're always checking what's going on, and everything on my Twitter feed was just Valkyrie, 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 Valkyrie. So you definitely made your mark, and you've had a really good start to your WWE career as well, haven't you? So you've gone up against Amal, Isla Dawn, Aaliyah, and Nina Samuels, victorious in all of them so far. You were also in a tag match as well. Like obviously before lockdown, you were building up head steam, and you're really sort of coming into your own. Where's the future for Valkyrie now as we move forward? Once all this is over with, is it challenging for the NXT women's title? Is it, there's always room for more, right?
Obviously I want to do as much as possible with all the girls in NXT UK. It's really hard not to like, especially in lockdown, you can't really. I have no, like everything is at a standstill right now. But when I think about, I'm thinking a lot about when I started now, because especially just trying to think of how I felt, like when you would just ask there about, what was it like debuting? It like all that's on your brain is how far you've come, and you just never really thought it would get to this. So I was thinking about just when I started, and just back to when honestly the inciting moment of what made me start wrestling was when I saw Becky Lynch debut on NXT, and that was the first I ever saw of NXT. I think she debuted on, it was like the 26th of June in 2014, and the 29th of June was when I like headed down to Fight Factory. So it's so like, just to think of like where I started and where I am now, it's crazy. So wherever I go from here, I have to just kind of trust myself that I'm going to end up where I'm supposed to be, because it's worked for me so far. Not really looking too far ahead, but just doing everything I can every day to do as much as I can. So.
And you mentioned Becky Lynch there. I don't know if you heard of an article that she did quite a while back now, and somebody asked her, from Ireland, who would you like to step in the ring with? And she mentioned you in that article.
That's amazing. Becky actually came back to Fight Factory in the last year or the year before, but she came in and I did want to talk to her at the time, but Phil, the head trainer, just threw me under the bus. He was like, "Oh, we actually have our first ever female Irish junior heavyweight champion right now," and she was like, "Oh, really great!" Like, and I was just standing there and I couldn't help it. Like, I was just in just thinking about like just everything. Like, oh, I used to like, I watched Becky debut on NXT, and now like I'm here, she's right there, and I got very overcome with emotion. That was my first time meeting Becky. I'll always have that.
Not sure if you did know this. I'm guessing by the vignettes WWE created for you, you did. Valkyrie, obviously Norse mythology. is, amongst one of the female figures who choose who may live and die in battle. Is Norse mythology, something that you studied or were interested in, or was it just a really cool name?
No, I actually got the name from a series of Irish books that I was obsessed with when I was a child, called Skullduggery Pleasant. It's like a top-selling Irish author, but I was obsessed with and the main character was called Valkyrie, and she was 12 when I was 12, and then the next book would come out when I was 13 and she was 13, and I just kind of really related to the main character. So I took the name, and a lot of my time on the independent scene, I never did anything with the name. And then when I came to NXT, I really wanted to finally do something with it. And as well, when I started delving into Norse mythology and everything, it's actually a lot of what I read a lot about, and I read a lot about fate. I read a lot about like what's meant to be. I read a lot on like sports psychology and the law of attraction and stuff like that, and it kind of all ties in with how the Valkyrie is like in control of her own fate.
Yeah.
And chooses who lives and dies on the battlefield. And I was like, this is kind of what I was meant to do. And there's an Irish Celtic goddess called the Morrigan, who actually is really tied with Valkyrie, and is like the symbol of the Morrigan is the ravens and crows. So it all like it's weird, and the Morrigan's date is like October, and that's my birthday, and there's just a whole lot of backstory now that I've discovered that I really feel like the way I'm going is the way I was always meant to go with my character and my name.
It's absolutely incredible, isn't it, when you stumble upon the information that has so much meaning and backstory to what then you think about, oh, that's actually what I've intended all along,
Yeah.
And especially with the whole Valkyrie name and the Norse mythology thing, which is becoming bigger and bigger as a history subject these days than most, which is incredible. Now, I noticed after watching your appearance on One Questions with Rocky Mac, that man has been entertaining us for 50 days. What a legend. That you have, you love to sing.
Yeah, it's talent. Yeah.
I noticed that the low notes are not your speciality. It's more the long, high pitched theatrical notes that are your thing. So, do we have some music to hand, and do we have some music for Aoife to?
Please don't ask me to sing.
I was going to see if this would work. I put it in my notes and I highlighted them. So I was like, right, I'm going to see if this will work, but it's fine. We'll do it on the next time we speak. We'll get you to sing some, I don't know, maybe some Celine Dion, or she's a poet. Yeah, a bit of ABBA maybe. Yeah, you could do the solo parts. So apart from singing, you've been a bit of a gamer, I've noticed. More recently, getting stuck into Animal Crossing. Do you know this game has been mentioned on about 4 episodes of this podcast so far? Like, it's taking the world by storm. Is this like a wrestler's downtime? Getting a Nintendo Switch and spending 12 hours a day on Animal Crossing.
I don't know. It's so weird how many wrestlers are. It's just so weird to think of the amount of wrestlers that are obsessed with Animal Crossing now. But yeah, like I had the DS version when I was growing up. And I spent I lost years of my childhood to Animal Crossing. And when I saw it was coming out on the Switch, it was like, okay, I have to get a Switch. So yeah, I bought a Switch just for Animal Crossing, and I think within a week or 2 weeks of its release, I had 100 hours into it. It's
wow.
bad. It's an addiction. Yeah.
So an interview that came out recently, I know that Alexis Falcon, she had put over 180 hours into her island already, and I was just like, holy shit, how do you do that? In the space of the game's been out what, month and a half maybe, and it's
March is when it came out. I had that pinned to my calendar. I was counting down days.
So you say you've been productive during this whole quarantine time. Does productive to you mean building an island? Obviously, having to dig up those.
About being really productive. Oh no, I was talking about an Animal Crossing. In real life, I'm doing anything. Yeah, like I'm still playing. I'm obsessed with Fortnite and Animal Crossing. I just go back and forth. Like I have Zelda, I have Horizon that I've still yet to complete. What else have I downloaded? Oh, Destroy All Humans 2 from the PS2. Like I
Oh,
just keep going
nice.
back to Fortnite
Classic.
and Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I actually put in my notes as well that Horizon Zero Dawn. I know you were really enjoying. It's a phenomenal game though. I'm a big Sony fanboy, and that is a phenomenal game. Aoife, this has been so much fun, and I can't believe we've been speaking for 50 minutes already. Like it seems like we've only been talking for 10, 15 minutes. I know you've got a call with the NXT guys very soon. I know I can't keep you another hour and a half as much as I'd like, but I do feel like we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more to the story of Valkyrie, not just to come, but what we haven't had time to cover. So hopefully we bump into each other in the future. We get a few mics, camera, a cool bar, and just do all this all over again.
Of course. Why not? Willing
Uh,
to.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I really can't wait to see, not just by the end of 2020, but for 2021, that we're going to see a lot more Valkyrie, definitely in that contendership for the NXT Women's Championship. I think you are one of the hottest prospects in wrestling, full stop. So I can't wait to see where you go next.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.